Hi, everybody. Welcome to Prim and Proper Sports. It's your host here, Sonia Pearson. And you see who I got with me, Fern from New York Giants for Life. There's no theme music, y'all. I'm still figuring out this whole restream thing. Fern, what's up? How you doing? Thanks for joining me tonight. We are live on October the 9th, 2024, Wednesday.
What's going on, counselor?
Oh, everything is going great. So I just want to say hello to everyone that's in all of our social media platforms. Y'all share and all this good stuff. New time alerts because of school duties. I will only be live now on Wednesday nights and Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, this episode will re-air at 2 a.m. on Northeast Streaming Sports. Shout out to Linda and Mac, the great host over there on the Roku channel, on YouTube, and it will also air tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fire TV. And my Friday episode will re-air on Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So lots of new stuff to go over. Fern, so glad that you had time to come on tonight. You guys drop your comments in the chat, say hello, greet us, all that good stuff. Let me make sure I got my little caption up here for Mr. Fern, just in case I did not want to forget that. There he is. Welcome, Fern, NYG for Life. Fern, tell our audience a little bit about yourself because it's been a while since you've been on. We had you on with Friday with the fellas for a little bit, but now, you're an independent act. And I want to make sure that, our audience knows who you are. And while you're doing that, I'll be sharing to make sure everyone knows we are live.
Well, yeah, nothing has changed. I've been on Friday with the fellas, been on with Sonya before that. Diehard Giants fan, diehard Ohio State fan. We're going to talk a lot of football today.
Yes.
I enjoy it. Both teams are doing fairly good, especially with the Giants not predicted to do well. They had a really good outing this Sunday. Just a big football fan, big sports. It's an honor to be on the show.
I'm always glad to have you on for, you have an open invitation to come on anytime. And hello to Yoli. She's coming on. I have to chat with them in the online because I haven't figured out Restream yet. I'm going to perfect it, but we got a few viewers coming on. I see the numbers going up there. Fern, we got a matchup coming up in a couple of weeks. But for right now, let's do a small recap. So my Wednesday show will be a preview of the Thursday game coming up and a slight recap because by Wednesday, y'all already heard it, from Sunday, Monday, and all that good stuff. And then my Friday show will be a preview of Sunday's games coming up. Fern, what was your biggest surprise in the last few games we saw from Monday Night Football and Sunday? There was quite a few upsets and nail snatchers, literally snatchers, not just biters. Close games and some winners that we didn't see, right, Fern?
It was a ton, and I'll start off with my squad, New York Football Giants. We went into Seattle at Lumen's Field without a running back Singletary, without Malik Neighbors, our number one receiver, and we got the W off a blocked field goal from Isaiah Simmons. I tell you what, this team is proving to me day after day that resiliency counts. I was proud to see that. Hopefully we could continue that on down the line. I know we're talking NFL, but sheesh, what about college football? We talk about upsets. Alabama getting upsetted by Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt.
After coming off that big game against Georgia, that was crazy.
And that's what I was like, really? Like, I don't know how Georgia should feel after that. Should they feel like, oh, wow, Vandy beat this team, and that means we're not as good as we thought we were? And I'm going to be honest, that rivalry is so deep, but I thought it would be a difference without Nick Saban. By the way, shout out, you see I got my blue nails for the Giants tonight, bro. Just got these.
Salute to you, counselor.
For you tonight. They look real bad, let's be honest.
No,
I mean, that was such a big upset. Like, those guys have got to be feeling like over the moon happy with that upset, right, Fern?
I mean, yeah, Alabama let the ball slip. They came off a high of beating Georgia, which that could have really ended in shambles. Going up 28-0 on those guys and then letting Georgia sneak right back in the game.
Recognize those numbers, 28.
Man, 20. Oh, boy.
That seems to be a Georgia thing.
Our boy Kevo, I hope he ain't watching. I know he at work today, so I hope he ain't watching.
Yes, yes.
Me and him just got off the phone going back and forth about his Falcons. But
Oh, honey, we'll
but
talk to them in a minute. We have a
we'll talk to him in a
small,
minute.
small segment for them because we ain't got much for them. Let's be clear.
I gotta respect it. Yeah, I mean, they let the ball slip. They came off a high against Georgia, went into Vanderbilt thinking it was going to be a sure thing. Nothing is assured, especially when it comes to football. Any given Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, you can get beat Thursday or Monday. And Vanderbilt showed them that they took advantage of their weakness, of their fatigue, of their complacency. They took advantage of all of those things, and that goes to show every athlete out there. Doesn't matter who you are. There's a saying that goes: "It's not the size of the dog; it's the size of the bite." Shout out to my nephew Dog Lawson.
Yes, and Neff Dog is here, and he he wants to stand up and say hi to everybody. He's wearing his yellow in a rare moment. Really wanted Patrick Mahomes and company to be defeated. He's like, "Mom, I'm out of here." You see how he jumped down? He's like, I don't rep no Saints. I don't rep them. This is just temporary because my mom wanted, Kansas to lose. But there really is no beating Patrick Mahomes. Two undefeated teams remain, one in the AFC, one in the NFC. The Minnesota Vikings, Sam Darnold, dynamite up there in Minnesota, and Patrick Mahomes and company, the reigning Super Bowl champs out in Kansas City. Even sans Isaiah Pacheco, they are still getting it done. And I think Rashee Rice as well. They are still getting it done in Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City was projected to do this, right? When they're going to be there at the end, as they usually are. But Minnesota, we didn't see that coming. I know it's early, but didn't see Minnesota coming. I mean, that first game against us, I thought if we were going to win any game, I circled Minnesota as being one of those games. But they proved me wrong. That team is firing on all cylinders. It's going to be interesting how they would do going down the line in the season. Is still early, right?
Very early.
You're looking at Minnesota very early. So, people fail to forget that, but it's very, very early. So I am interested to see how well Minnesota can last throughout the season, health-wise mainly. And, once people start kind of getting a whiff of their play calling and everything that's going on, get some tape on them boys, see what they do in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, Sam Darnold, he has these ways of looking magical at times. He'll give you about 5 wins, and then he's just am Darnold. Like, I am Darnold, not just Sam. Yeah, like, I am just here, basically. Shout out real quick. I do want to kind of, before I forget, to give this big plug out. Young Wei Koo in that nail biter game against the New Orleans Saints, put them into overtime with a 58-yard. That's a franchise record for Young Way out there. Koo put them in overtime, and they got the win. Only 2 points against the New Orleans Saints division matchup. That was big on them. Are the Falcons really, I mean, Fern, you've met Kirk in person. Like, you are a celebrity. Like, I was like, I wish I was at a dealership that day. To see Kirk really come in there, like, we want Kirk on the show. Kirk, if you really are like following us, we really want you on the show.
Please.
Are the Falcons really for real? I mean, I was at the opener. I wasn't that much moved by it. But then Kirk, has these moments that he is literally spectacular in the pocket, out of the pocket, the run game, everything, you name it. He seems to be the answer for the Falcons as long as they don't make these trivial mistakes and there's no interceptions within pivotal times, right, Fern?
Yeah, shout out to my boy Kev, man. Him and his Falcons. We just got off the phone talking about them. I made a point to him, and he didn't take it very well, which I understand. It was his team. But the Falcons, I really feel like they are for real. Again, it's early, right? And they're catching on right on time. Kurt is he's a regular season stud, right? He's not a postseason stud. He's a stud in the regular season. He's going to win you some games. He's going to throw some yards. May get to the first. He'll get to the first round. May try to sneak into the second, but that's all you're going to get out of Kirk Cousins. Kevin made me realize something. That's not the objective for the Falcons. The objective for the Falcons is to get better over time. We all know Kurt is going towards the end of his career. They gave him the money, and they got him there for a reason, right? they got a guy on the bench by the name of Michael Penix, and
Mhm.
he's sitting up there absorbing everything.
Depleting his energy.
And bringing his energy. It really, I really wish, and I'll go to you, Sonya, your guy Bryce Young was in that position because I feel like if Bryce was in the same position as Michael Penix, he would be, I mean, he would be in such a different predicament. They put Bryce Young in, didn't give him any weapons during a rebuild. He's a rookie, doesn't know exactly what to do, where to go, and doesn't have the support system he needs. And now look, he's benched, right? So, they that was a great job they did with Michael Penix by getting Kirk Cousins. We all kind of looked at it as being foolish, but man, Terry Fontenot, knew he's a genius. I said he's either going to be a genius or he's going to be a loser. And
Mhm.
he's a genius right now because you got a guy like Kirk Cousins who can win you some games, get you to the playoffs, let Michael Penix soak all that up, and then when he comes in, man, he's going to be a stud. So longevity wise, I think the Falcons are going to be they're working their way towards another Super Bowl within the next 2 to 3 years. You can count on that. I know. I know.
So let me just take this by layers, by
Uh-huh.
layers, because there's a lot to unpack there.
Yep.
First and foremost, before I get to this show, I honestly forgot because I was so used to having the theme music and having an opportunity to kind of like cue up my thoughts before we go live.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just, you guys know how I am. Everybody knows me, knows I'm all about faith, family, and football. And
Mm-hmm.
so before we go any further, I just have to say, God is so amazing. God worked out a situation today that seemed absolutely impossible. For anybody that's in my family inner circle, they absolutely know what I'm speaking about with
Yep.
law school and things like that. And I just want to give a shout out to the angel, the ram in the bush that he put in place for me, someone I did not even know until today, worked it out, and he will work it out. So I just want to give a shout out to God and just thank him, thank him, thank him. All right.
Amen.
So I had to do that. Thank you, Fern. See
Amen.
Fern. So it's family football, Fern. You got
Yeah. I like
it.
that one.
Bryce Young, we know, was put into an absolutely horrible position. I'm gonna like looking back a year, last year you're taking it game by game. You're like, okay, is this the game that we're gonna see a different Bryce? Is this the game that we're not gonna like? It was just like being on a seesaw last year. It was like you don't know who you're gonna get. This guy's running for his life,
Yep.
literally. It was hinted, and it's probably true that he needs some type of counseling or mentorship that can really help him. But Bryce is tough as nails, literally. He still
Yeah.
has a positive attitude that goes along with his upbringing and his coaching from his college days. He didn't seem sour about it. There was a clip going around where he was coming in at the facility, and a fan was like, "Hey, Bryce, can I get your autograph?" And this was the day after the sabbatical. I don't like to use the word
Mm-hmm.
benching. We're giving him a sabbatical, no matter what that means. If he comes back to the team or he plays elsewhere, this is not the end of Bryce Young. Let's be clear. He was not at fault for this situation. It's akin to me giving you a new job and telling you I want you to type up all this stuff, and you don't have no computer, you don't have no plug-in, or I give you a laptop that's dead, like you have no way of charging it, so you can't perform the job. That's the equivalent of Bryce coming to the Panthers. He should have been allowed to sit and mirror behind. I'm still like actually upset that Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold were traded away before you
Mm-hmm.
can even get Bryce acclimated. They didn't. Now Bryce wasn't there at the time, but they gave him away. They gave everybody away. DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, everybody was away on Bryce Young. And even if Bryce was a stallion of a quarterback, he still needs veteran receivers. He needs veteran O-line, veteran defensive. He needs vets on both sides of the ball, not just people that were on the roster, but true proven vets that had been playing in this game, that had experienced some wins and a few losses, and not going like looking like a spade game, like somebody ran a Boston on us. 2-12 is absolutely, or 2-16, I stopped counting, is absolutely ridiculous. This year, I'm glad that the Panthers had the fortitude to go ahead and stop the wreck train right now. Like, just go ahead and shut the tracks down. Take him out the game. Put Andy Dalton in, red rifle, former Cincinnati Bengal. He's been in a couple of other organizations. I like Red Rifle. We saw a very different team in Las Vegas when the Panthers played Las Vegas. I did not think that bringing Andy in would mean we are undefeated, by no means. But I do see competitive football now that Andy Dalton is in. Even with this loss we took against his former team, the Bengals. The Panthers played, I mean, at least a couple of quarters until they didn't. When Bryce was playing, it was like he was playing alone. No one was playing out there. I mean, they could have brought the water boys out there to catch a pass before the receivers that we had. Adam Thielen is out right now, but we still look formidable with Andy Dalton in the pocket, on the field, everything. And I think that just allowing this time for Bryce to sit, I honestly feel like if Bryce comes back, it should be after, like, say, the first 10 games. I think he needs to sit for a few additional weeks. I really don't have it in me to say he needs to sit the rest of the season because that would be the equivalent of being basically benched. But I do think that in this time and in this space, he can mentally regroup, he can physically regroup. Because let's be honest, he's got some injuries that they're not exposed because he's just not going to expose them. I mean, let's be honest, he's fretful of losing his job. So when you're in that position, you just, you go to work sick. You do whatever you have to do to make it happen. It's not an easy schedule that we have. We got y'all coming up real soon. We got divisional rivals coming up. We got to face New Orleans again, who put a molly whopping on us at game one. And really, they shouldn't even be bragging about that. They scored all their points in the first two games. Their 91 is probably done for the next two seasons. Let's be clear, it's the same. But we're gonna see, just what happens right now. The Saints are only one game ahead of us. Like, we're still very much in this thing, but we just can't continue to go down now. Now, I'm gonna be honest. If we just start this losing path again, then they need to just come in and clean house. And it may start even with ownership. I don't think we're so quick to get rid of coaches every year. We've had as many coaches and quarterbacks in the last 2 years than some franchises have had in a long time.
It's true. I'll go back to the Bryce Young situation because it's intriguing. I think it was the Panthers did Bryce Young a favor by sitting him. I know he may not see it, but I'll take that guy any day if I wanted to start an organization. I'll take Bryce Young. The key is to any organization, and I was talking to Kevin about this earlier, is drafting, recruiting, and selling your team to players to try to get them to come. Bryce Young just needs that support. He went from having it all to having barely anything. I mean, a team that's in the rebuilding process, every team has their stints of rebuild, some are longer than others. We are the same way. But you have such a talent and a guy that something that you can't teach, and that's effort. Who's going to give the effort and the attitude. Man, he has the potential to be anything that he wants to be. And that's what organizations look at. So if I'm the Panthers, he's young. I don't know. I will look at maybe giving him an out to go somewhere else and just rebuilding from there. It's going to be tough to rebuild if you're Carolina, but you're going to have to rebuild at some point, and you're going to have to rebuild through the draft. Try to look at free agency, but rebuild through the draft and have the faith that it will get better. It will, but you're going to have to rebuild from the ground up. Get you a bunch of young guys, draft you another quarterback, get an offensive line, start fresh, start over, and start the rebuild the right way. If Carolina does that within 3 to 5 years, they'll be contenders, but they have to make the right decisions. That I think they gave up a little bit too much to get Bryce Young. But for me, at this point, I can see why. I would bring that guy in any day. Let him sit behind the quarterback that I have. Let him soak up all that teaching and all of that information and learn from that quarterback that we have on the field. And I'm telling you, he'll be a stud. He will be a stud because he has the attitude, he has the talent, He just needs to support, and that's it. I'm a big Bryce Young fan.
Yeah, and that's big coming from an Ohio State fan, the Ohio State, which
Mm-hmm.
is we'll talk about them in a little bit because I know you ready to talk about them.
Yep.
But I mean, I agree about Bryce. I just feel like, and I'm going to be honest, we literally gave up everything. We're still paying Chicago. We got to pay them one more time next year.
Yep.
Like to make everything equal. And honestly, I still never understood why Christian McCaffrey went to San Francisco. Some little switcheroo they had going on with Chicago, but you see how they're playing now that Christian is down. Poor Christian.
Yeah.
Wishing him the best. He's got like some type of Achilles tendonitis in both legs.
Jeez.
Both the Panthers and the 49ers have run him figuratively and literally in the ground. I mean, he's literally everything for both of those organizations, and his body is just finally taking a toll. And we know the shelf life of a running back is not always extensive anyway, because they are dependent on so heavily across the board. But back to, the situation in Carolina, and not to make this the Carolina show. And hello, everybody coming on. Please say hello to us. I'm trying to figure out. I see a lot of views coming in. I've shared this a lot. So let's see. It looks like the chat is here. Oh, here is the chat. Guys, thank you so much. I'm so sorry for the delay. Let me start putting these chats up. All right. Yoli is saying hello. Hi, Yoli. Guys, I'm just learning how to use Restream, so forgive me about that. And we got J Train commenting tonight. He says Bryce Young needs his confidence back. And hi, J Train, New Orleans Saints. Talent is unquestionable. However, he is not a prototypical quarterback. The support is not there. So prototypical. That's a pretty big word to use. Fern, what are your thoughts? And hi, Carolyn, Panther Reds. How are you? That's a pretty big word, prototypical quarterback. Is that because of size? Like, what are you specifically meaning, James? You can put the comment back in and I'll put it up when you respond. But I really feel like, I've said that, like, Bryce is not 6 foot anything. Let's be clear. But he's getting it done. He's getting it done for what he could get done for what he had to work with. You have to use what you have at some point. Do you think that the Panthers actually bring him back? Or you mentioned this possible rebuild. Do we probably trade him? Because there was a word out that we may send him to LA. Tua Tagovailoa is out in Miami. We may send Bryce to LA. I don't know how we got involved in this, but this was the rumor. Send Bryce to LA. Matt Stafford goes to Miami to fill in for Tua. I don't know what LA was supposed to have gotten out of that, but this was just the rumor mill speaking.
Yeah, I mean, now if the Panthers have to sell themselves to Bryce, right? And because Bryce has such a great attitude, I don't think it's too much selling they have to do. Bryce has to. If the choice is not up to him, but it's up to him in a sense, right? So if I'm Bryce, I want to know what direction is this team going in? How can I be of help? You talk about a guy who, my buddy Cyrus Jones, who he played a little bit after him. He was on the show.
Cyrus back on. Shout out.
Yeah, we'll get him back on. I talked to him earlier, and he was so down when Bryce Young got benched. And he says, man, these organizations just don't know what they have. If you can give this guy the tools and everything that he needs, he said, I've seen him. And I asked Cyrus this personally. I asked him one day, I said, what's the best talent you've ever witnessed on field at Alabama? And he brought Amari Cooper up, but he said, number one would be Bryce Young. I said, really? He said, yeah, because what Bryce can do at that size is unimaginable. He has the attitude, he has the will, he has the effort. I don't care at this point. I know, those dynamics play in part to you being successful. But if you're 5'10", 5'11", and you have a will and the will to win, you're willing to work, you listen, you're a team player, I'm going to put every resource there to make it available to you so that we can win, and we will win, right? We just you have to build that team a little bit more sturdier for him to win. But You guys he's a great quarterback. I think he has potential to be a really good quarterback. It's just he has to have the support, you know.
Carolyn said keep him and let him develop another year. So
Absolutely, maybe a year or two. Keep them, let them develop. Get you a vet in there and start building around the trenches. You don't need too many skill players. You guys need an offensive line. You need a defensive front. You need some secondary. Then you can start dipping into your stockpile and go get your receiver here and there. You can get one out of free agency, but start building the trenches. Start building the line, protection, all that good stuff. Give
yeah,
him the support that he needs.
yeah. J Train says that Drew Brees was not prototypical 6'0" and 6 feet, moderate arm. His heart is unquestionable. Bryce is intelligent, needs a strong supporting cast. You saw what he did at Alabama. He could do the same in the pros. And he says he compares Bryce to Drew. There was some people that actually did compare them and to Doug Flutie not too long ago as well, with Bryce and I guess, stature and things like that. So I definitely agree. So we'll just see what happens with Bryce. Now let's talk about the New York Giants and their quarterback fiasco. You guys are pulling out miraculous wins, but let's not be too over the top with it because there's still a quarterback issue in New York. Fern.
It is, but what made me feel okay, which I know we still need a quarterback, I'm not taking that away, is everything that I said before the season started. We was able to get an offensive line. I know Saquon, he's in Philly doing his thing. Great for him. We got everything that we need. We built an offensive line off of that. We was able to pay two big offensive linemen. We got protection. Tyrone Tracy, a guy that I said at the beginning of the season, Sonya, was going to be a great running back. Him and Devin Singletary motor. I got to witness them in person at Cleveland a few weeks ago. I met his parents.
It'd be a lot of fun. I saw you.
It was a lot of fun. I met Tyrone Tracy's parents when we were cheering for him when they won, and they came down. I said, "Man," I said, "I'm rooting for your son." And his dad said, "I appreciate that." He says he's humbled by all the support. I mean, this guy is a beast. Wandell is going to catch some balls. He missed a few. Daniel Jones is surprisingly he's playing well. He got a lot of criticism in those first couple of games. If you really break down the Giants, the only really bad game they had was Minnesota, and Minnesota's beating the crap out of everybody. If we had a field goal kicker, we beat Washington. We didn't let Washington score on us once. They kicked all field goals.
Off the chain. I'm gonna let you finish that, but we gotta talk about Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, we do, and I'll go back to him, but the Giants kept him in check. And they beat us, the first team to ever beat a team in field goals. We didn't have a field goal keeper and beat us. But Jaden Daniels is balling. He is balling. I hope that it continues. Again, it's early, right? We're rooting for these guys. I love to see that. But it is early. So we have to be conscientious of that. But Washington, I told a Washington fan the other day, I said, "Man, I know you guys are my same division, but I'm actually happy for y'all. I hope y'all continue it." But he's balling. He is balling. We built a defensive front, who's a nightmare right now with Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. Oh my God, Bobby Okereke. Your guy Brian Burns was a weapon for us, man. It took him a couple games to get rolling, but he's, if we can next year add another guy to that secondary, get us a quarterback. Daniel Jones is performing well, but we'd love to get a guy like Cam Ward. I know we have to lose out to get a guy like that, but get us a nice, sturdy quarterback. I think the Giants have a lot of potential, maybe a 2 or 3 year plan, if that, to be a contender.
And hello, Jermaine. Saying Carolina Panthers keep pounding. Pause, no Diddy. Okay, got you on that. And he's saying never give up 24/7. I mean, he's absolutely right. He's saying Daniel Jones did good without Malik Neighbors. Yeah,
without Malik Neighbors, yeah.
And he was impressed with Slayton. Jaden Daniels is rookie of the year. He definitely is. And Washington, they may win the division, but let me tell you, Washington has the best record they've had since 2008?
They do.
I was floored. I was like, wow. Like, I was a Commanders fan / Redskins fan before we got the Panthers. And so I'm like, listen, if this starts looking real bad, I might have to go out there and just get me a Commander shirt. But I don't know. They about to rename them back to
Stick with your team.
Now I'm sticking with them, but I'm saying as a child, before we had the Panthers, I was a Redskins
Is a
fan. So
Redskin fan?
yes, it's it's documented. So
I like you, sir.
uh, but yeah, I mean, it's just such a busy time. This is my favorite time of the year. You
Yep.
got college football and NFL, like every day you're seeing some game, CFP
Yep.
or NFL. Like, they got Monday and Thursdays and Sundays for the NFL. Then you got some little in between, and ESPN will give you a recap.
Let's not
I
forget high
mean,
school on Friday.
yes, high school on
Yep.
Fridays, and it's just a great time of year. Oh, let me pause real quick for something else. All of our Florida fans, residents, families, we are praying for you. We are praying for the evacuees. We're praying for those people who are still lost, missing, suffering. Everything from Helene, the Western Carolinas got hit
Yes,
so
please.
bad. A lot of cities are still underwater, still without power. A lot of family members still missing.
Yep.
Absolutely heartbreaking stories coming out of the mountain area of North Carolina, an area that would never have been thought to be affected by a hurricane or a natural disaster. There was a couple that were teachers, retired. They went to the mountains on vacation and they are missing. Their children
Jeez.
are looking for them, because you never would think going to the mountains would involve you being washed away.
Mhm.
Stories of this husband that said him and his wife and his 8-year-old were in their house and they heard a cannonball like sound. He went to go see what was going on. Water was gushing in. He went to try to go get something from the garage to stop up the area that water was gushing in, and the garage was completely gone. He puts his 8-year-old on his back because the water is raising really high. He hears his wife, say, "Babe, look out," because the house is starting to crumble, and he sees her washed away. I
Oh,
mean, this is
good.
absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, there is no word. So if you can support the American Red Cross or your own local charities to try to help these families. And big prayers to my family members in that area, my godson, Evan, his mom, Carmel, my friend. Their city was underwater. Chimney Rock, these mountains that everybody goes to are underwater or have been underwater. It's surreal. And 75 north coming out of Florida into Georgia, all the way up through Atlanta, has been a snail's pace. This morning I had to go a back route because I live off 75. I had to go all street routes because the traffic was gridlocked. It's been gridlocked for the last 2 days. And that direct hit is supposed to literally go through the whole state of Florida across the central area. Tampa Bay being the most affected from the direct hit starting tonight and tomorrow. So praying for that Big Bend area of Florida, the Panhandle, all of Florida, and those in the wake of the storm, and those in North and South Georgia who were also affected. Just want to make sure I put that plug in because we have people everywhere, that are dealing with natural disasters, and including right here in the metro area, some cities, some town residents were flooded out. So definitely thinking of them. All right. J Train says, I told everyone that Jaden's comp is Lamar Jackson. Okay. Just a better thrower of the ball. What are your thoughts on that, Fern? Is he
I
a Lamar
mean,
Jackson
I,
comparison? That's pretty
I,
decent.
I have no thoughts on that. He is who he is. We're gonna see how well he plays. I'm wishing well for him. Um, it's early. We got to give these guys time to really see what they are. You know, I wish the best for him. But it's gonna, when I look at a player, I dissect him from what he's showing me right now. And he's showing great talent right now. Um, Time is gonna tell because Tom is
Mhm.
gonna present a lot of different challenges to him, and we're gonna see how well he can overcome them. Uh, we'll see. It's gonna be really interesting in the NFC East. We got a lot of teams that's showing a lot of different things. We're all about 1 to 2 games away from being the top of the division. So I am, and again, like I said earlier, I'm interested to see what these next 6 to 8 weeks is going to show us. And see what type of contenders rise from the ashes.
Yeah, that's gonna be big. And J Train definitely sends his thoughts and prayers as well. He's a Katrina survivor from New Orleans. And he says, coming from that, he can only, basically send prayers as well for these people ahead of Milton and the effects of Helene. So thank you for that, J Train. Yeah, it's still early, we talk about it still early. And so switching gears a little bit, we're going to talk about the Ohio State. Is Coach receiving any death threats yet out there?
No, not yet. Ryan Day, you got to win this
Yeah,
game this
a
weekend.
brand
You
new
got
day with
It's a
Ryan Day.
brand new day with Ryan Day. And he's gonna have too many days left if we don't win. Listen, we play Oregon at Oregon
The
Saturday,
Ducks.
7:30. The Ducks, they're the top 5 team. We got to beat these guys. Everybody. They have a lot of things to say about Ohio State, the level of competition. The challenges. They play easy teams. So we got to go out there and prove those guys wrong. We got to go out there go ahead and beat Oregon, take care of Nebraska the week after next, and then go out and beat another top 5 team in Penn State. I'm interested to see how this all is going to work out. Will Howard is playing really well. Man, talk about playing well. That freshman that we have over there, I'll call him a freshman, wide receiver. He is a nightmare, brother. I'll tell you. And he's young, just like the kid out of Alabama, 17-year-old kid that is playing out of his mind. I'm
That's
interested to see.
insane that he's literally a kid
They're
playing
kids,
like
man.
that.
Man, they're kids. They're kids. And, him, Abuka, our running back team, I don't know why my mind is freezing up. Judkins, Quishon Judkins, Travion Henderson. We are going to have to all come together. That defense is going to have to step up, and we're going to have to prove why we are validated at 3-2. I think we're ranked 2 now. Why we need to stay there. Being Oregon allows us to prove that.
Yeah, and I would tell you, I was talking to my godmom earlier tonight, and her nephew, I didn't know that schools have special schools that they put these gifted athletes in so they can start shaping them for college. But he is in some program through Ohio State. He hasn't even graduated yet, and they've already basically marked him and starting to, bring him up to be, I guess he might be about to be signed with y'all. I know y'all already got a 17-year-old. I don't think it's him. Who's the 17-year-old y'all got?
The wide receiver, he just slipped my mind. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
From Georgia?
No, he's not from Georgia. No.
Okay, so
he's a beast.
Yeah, y'all about to have another one. So now they, that competition is extremely fast. We've talked about that before, how they basically are mentoring toddlers. I mean, they starting with Pop Warner little football now, like seeing what's out there. And next thing you know, this person's 15 with endorsements, out the wazoo because
they're getting younger.
Skills.
Yeah, they're getting younger.
Yeah, shout out to Juju, newest Nike endorsement. Juju of the not even WNBA. She's still in college, but she may be declaring soon. That girl is all that. Juju Ballin, that's what they call her. So she got a Nike deal today or yesterday. So shout out to her. So yeah, they definitely, are getting them. So Oregon is big for being, I remember them as the exposure team. I've seen Oregon play a couple of times prior to last year, and they were just like, okay, they look decent. I saw them play the Bulldogs, the Dogs in Georgia, in Atlanta, for the Chick-fil-A opener a couple years ago, and they just, they looked okay. I wasn't like, oh, okay, I hadn't thought too much about them. But last year, when old dude came out there and exposed Dion and said they were clicks and likes, and basically from that, they weren't winning nothing else. Oregon has been that business. You know what I'm saying?
Oregon has, and last time we met up with them, they beat us in the stunner at Oregon, so we got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder regarding that. I knew Oregon was going to be a really good team this year. Their offense is struggling a tad bit. We need to capitalize on that since we have a really good defensive front. It's going to be interesting this game. It's going to either shut a lot of mouths or it's going to open up a lot of mouths. But either way, Ohio State is going to have to try to find a way to win this game, to prove that they're worthy of being in that top 5 position. With it being a 12-team playoff situation, a lot of teams are not as desperate to win. If you lose a game or 2 and you're a contender, there's a chance you could still make the playoffs, right? So, but Ohio State is going to have to keep their foot on the gas because at the end of the day, everybody's counting us out and everybody's laughing that we got all this talent. Let's see what they're going to do with it. And Ryan Day, I think he's on a hot seat. If he does not win out this year, yeah, there's a chance that we will be having a new day without him.
Yeah, and I mean, I felt bad because he was talking about he literally was getting death threats from fans, like over him
That's
losing.
terrible.
Dude,
You
you've been
never do
there
that.
for a minute. Yeah, he said fans like I think they for a minute he was staying elsewhere because they were like camped outside his house. I was like, oh
Yep.
snap! Like wow.
Yep. The people are crazy. You got crazy fans like that. But Ryan Day, we're gonna have to win, man. It's time to prove the critics and the haters, all those guys wrong. And I'm here for it. I'll be tuned in 7:30 on Saturday evening.
Yes. So listen, does Dion like what's going on with Colorado? I noticed it's not a lot of
Man,
fanfare anymore.
this year should have been all the fanfare. I mean, the last couple of games, these thrillers at the end of the fourth quarter, man, they're pulling out wins, and I like it. I mean, they're playing hard.
You know why?
Dion.
There's no fanfare. So without all of that fanfare and the cameras and the glitz and the rappers and the clicks and likes, now they're focusing on football.
They are, yeah. Well, I always say this. Dion and we all know this. We all follow football for a very long time. Dion is going to be Dion. He's always been Dion, right? I didn't expect him to be anybody different when he took this head coaching job at Jackson State and eventually evolved to Colorado. So I like that about him. I like the exposure he's bringing these kids, the confidence he's instilling into them. We all look at things as like, oh, don't do this and do that. I like what he's doing. He's instilling confidence. He's telling kids that they can instead of they can't. And you have some guys that are humble, and you have some guys who are not. But a lot of times, that guys that are not, they're held to a higher standard because when you're not humble and you're not submissive, you got to make sure you can prove you can walk it like you walk the walk. And if you can walk the walk, you can be whatever you want.
Like you talking,
Walking like you talking.
Trey says the O-line and the defense is better as well. And you're right. Like, Dion earned every right to be flashy.
Every right.
He came in flashy, but he played even better. So, we came down and saw him in the 90s with all the rope chains and, the Jerry curl.
Yeah.
He was a bit much, but guess what? His on-field presence matched his off-field presence.
Sure
These
did.
guys, even though these were Dion's kids, just were not equipped. Like, this is a different era. They're not equipped to handle the fandom and everything because they're so social media motivated that it is clicks and likes, that they're so worried about, oh, wait, did this person see this? Did this person look at my merch? Did they do this, that, and the third? That they can't even focus on a playbook that's on Microsoft Surface.
Yeah, I put it to you like this. I from what I see, Dion holds those kids to a very high standard from on the field and off the field. The only thing he does that gets people a little shaken up is that he instills confidence in those kids and let them know you can talk, you can be whoever you want to be as long as you're putting in the work. And he does that. He allows them to be who they are, right? For what he does for those young men, Warren Sapp, I'll go back to the story even about Warren Sapp. I heard Warren Sapp make a comment that almost brought tears to my eyes. He said, they gave me something to live for. Warren Sapp was probably at a real bad point in his life.
Yeah.
Being one of the best defensive tackles that ever played a game. I was a big Warren Sapp fan. Even being a Giant fan, I was a big fan of Warren Sapp with him and and Derek Brooks and John Lynch, Rondé Barber, that whole Super Bowl team when they beat the Raiders. Warren Sapp was a monster. And he started to take a turn in his career, as he got older. Things started to change, People suffer from different mental conditions. He gave Warren Sapp, those kids gave him something to live for. That was, if that don't shake you up and show you what that prime Dion era is doing, not only for the kids or the children, what he's doing for the coaches, I don't know what will. He's instilling confidence. He's saving lives. He's doing it all. He is just good for football. And if you want to, wear your gold chain, your gold rope, and your gold mic or gold whistle, and you're doing all that, my man, you're good in my books.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just such a different era. A lot of talent now. We didn't talk too much about Georgia. They
Yeah,
lost to Alabama. I mean, they've revamped the entire SEC. They brought over
yep.
Texas A&M and the Red Sea
Texas,
Folks,
yeah,
Oklahoma, and
yeah.
now it's just like, okay, are you doing honorable mentions in the playoffs? Like, what do you have going? And to that, Jay Train is just like, Dion is who he is. Some people don't like him being himself. He is considered a bragger. Yeah, I mean, I'm like that. I really wholeheartedly feel that way. But in reality, he is very respected by the press. I mean, I follow him on Instagram. He is very respected and he's confident. He does, put that in there. He's Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer, winning coach, and positive and uh, model and black father in life, role model. Sorry, I had the little font there was thrown out for me. Yeah, that's a great comment, Jay Train, and shout out to Dion. Let's see if it continues, but he is who he is. He just became a grandfather too, so shout out to him. Congrats on that. His daughter had DeAndre, I think is her name. She had a baby, so now he's a grandpop, pop. We didn't talk too much about Georgia.
Yeah.
With this revamping that I was speaking about with Texas and Oklahoma, the Red Sea folks coming over. I mean, we're looking at almost like, okay, everybody's got to qualify. Like last year, they were mad, because Florida and Georgia were omitted from the playoffs. So now they're like, okay, top 30 teams? I don't know. I'm just being facetious about the number. But what are your thoughts on Georgia and their performance and that whole revamping of the SEC? Because I haven't had you on here to get your thoughts on that since that happened, Fern.
I think Georgia's the best team in college football right now, and I'll tell you why. Georgia, they have a gauntlet of a schedule this year. Um, that Alabama game, if they come back from being down that much and beat Alabama, there's nothing you can say about them. And they
Right.
almost did. That was a heck of a comeback, one for the ages. I think Georgia, again, is the best team in college football for what they have to endure. I don't think they should have dropped out of the top five, to be honest with you, because it was such a close game. And they came rallying back. It's going to be interesting what happens next week when they play Texas and Ole
That's
Miss is coming
a
up.
big game. Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. If they beat Texas, then there's nothing nobody can say. Even with one win, I'm putting Georgia at number one. And I'm an Ohio State fan. I try to be as real as I can. I would love to have another shot at Georgia, but I just think Georgia is the best team in the SEC right now.
And like James said, Texas is not too shabby. And like, yeah, so they're playing them next week, Fern. I didn't even know it was
Next
that.
week, I think Georgia, I forgot who Georgia plays this week, but they play Texas next weekend.
Yeah, I'll check real
Mhm.
quick while you're talking about that. So with the revamping, I'll be
Mhm.
looking at this while you're doing it. With the revamping of the
Mhm.
SEC, what were your thoughts on that? I mean, getting these two people on here and all that good stuff is,
People
what's
love SEC football, right? And so they're monopolizing it, right? So I think it's good competition wise because you're putting a lot of really good teams in that conference, and it's going to create better matchups,
your
more press, more views. People are going to want to watch TV, want to watch the games more. That it's doing a lot for college football as a whole. Bringing over Texas was really big. Um, um, and bringing over Texas A&M was too. And those guys are balling out. So now all you got to do is see these guys go head to head and match up against these SEC powerhouses like Alabama, like Georgia, like Tennessee, and see what they made of. But boy, if I mean, that Georgia Texas game is probably going to be one of the most viewed games. It's probably going to be right behind the Alabama Georgia game because that everybody is interested to see how that's going to play out. That does a lot for business. It's doing a lot for the conference. It was a good move on the committee's behalf. Really good move.
They're playing Mississippi State this Saturday.
Mississippi State, yes. I
And
think I
you're
talked with
right.
everyone.
It's at 4:15 p.m. So
Yeah,
I don't know if Mississippi State is 1-4 and Georgia's
yeah.
1, but sometimes these games we saw what Vandy did with Alabama.
Well, I think that scared Georgia, so I think Georgia's going to be more than prepared after seeing what Vandy did to Alabama. So
Do you
I
think
think that's what
Alabama's
they done.
playing different without Nick Saban? I mean, pulling off that Georgia win, I mean, it is a rivalry, but hey, I mean, are they really playing any different? There was a lot of people entering the transfer portal when Nick Saban first left. Like, remember it was like super busy. Like a lot of folks was like, I don't even want to commit to Alabama now because Nick's not there.
As much as things change, as much as they stay the same, no, Georgia, Alabama is still Alabama. I think the only thing they were missing in that Vanderbilt game was the discipline. You know, Saban wants to kill everything, no matter who you are. I don't care if Saban was playing a high school team. We want to beat you. I don't think it would have been as I don't think they would have been as lax going into Vanderbilt because Nick Saban would have sniffed that out real quick. But playing different in that sense, getting relaxed, yes, but it was an eye opener for them. It was a lesson, a teaching lesson. But I really think Alabama is going to be a problem moving forward because they got a chip on their shoulder. Everybody's down them. They're going to be playing lights out. So expect to see a lot of big things from Alabama in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that's gonna be big. And it's
Yeah.
literally like, because you guys know I'm new to the whole college football thing, but I'm telling you, this is my third season actually really following it. Such an amazing time on Saturday to know that college game day kicks off
Mm-hmm.
like 9 that morning. You got everybody on there,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're playing all day, and it takes you on into the NFL on Sundays. Who would you think are your biggest matchups for this Saturday, as well as your biggest matchups, just 2 games for Sunday coming up?
For Sunday, oh man, that's a good question.
We're gonna pick 2 college games because I know you
Mhm,
mentioned a
mhm,
couple of teams. Just 2 college games coming up this Saturday that you think are going to be like really a good game, a good thriller, pretty competitive, and then
mhm.
Sundays games as well. 2 NFL teams that you had to pick to see. Those going to probably be the best games for Sunday.
Well, Ohio State and Oregon plays. Of course, that's going to be my number one. I think that's game of the
Yes.
week. um, this may not be a big game, but I'm interested to see what Georgia's going to do with Mississippi State. Even though Mississippi State is down,
hmm
have one win, I'm curious to see their response pending what Alabama did against Vanderbilt. I am very curious to see their response. They're either going to knock Mississippi State out the park, or they're going to kind of buckle to them a little bit, give them a game. Georgia kind of did that to Kentucky. So that would be a game I'm just interested to see what happens. Now NFL, of course, my Giants against the Bengals at home. That's one of my biggest games this week.
So
One
you
of
think
my
the
biggest
Giants
games.
gonna beat them? The Giants gonna beat the Bengals?
I'm taking the Giants. We riding our high horse right now. Our defense is looking good. I'm not sure if Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be healthy. They said he got a wrist injury, but I think he'll be ready. I don't think it's anything major. May put a glove on him and help make him play. But he's been playing lights out with Brian Burns on that opposite side. I'm interested. I'm taking the Giants for that game. Washington, Washington plays. Is it Baltimore?
Is it Baltimore? I think it is Baltimore this Sunday.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
see. That's gonna be a really good game.
Yes.
If they're
Yes.
playing, they are playing the Ravens. They're playing them on
Yeah.
Sunday. That's
Yeah.
gonna be a good matchup, and it's gonna be a good chance for people to see the comparison to Lamar Jackson has been spoken about. We're
Yeah.
gonna
It'd be a great game. I would love to, kind of check that game out, see what goes on. Atlanta and Carolina plays. I'll add that as my third game. Just for see how Carolina responded after that loss. They are in a rebuild, but anything can happen. I mean, it's the NFL. You still got 53 grown men against other 53 grown men. So, just for my sis and my boy Kev, I want to see what Carolina and Atlanta do.
You know what's crazy? I've been telling myself, okay, October 17th weekend or October 12th, I cannot believe that it's here. I usually go to that game.
I know you do. You got
I
seats.
am
Yeah.
not gonna go this year, and it's just because I have prior obligations. In fact, I'm supposed to be trying to be in Tennessee Sunday, but I don't know
Oh.
how that's gonna work. Dennis Cockerham and the Trailer Park Country Band that were on a couple of weeks ago, they're doing a big tailgate with the Tennessee Titans and Nissan
Oh,
Stadium.
wow.
Chili Pepper Titans as well as Citizens band is going to be out there, and they asked me to come and like perform with them because we're supposed to be working on a remix. So yes, I sing, y'all. And they perform. They're going to be performing at the NFL draft as well. So pretty big hitters. I just got to
Ooh.
fit it in. If I can't get to, so Dennis, if you're watching, because we've been texting about this, my study load is absolutely heavy right now. Like for me to say no is incredibly difficult, but if you've gone through a doctoral program such as law or medicine, you totally get it. You literally have no time. These last 3 weeks have been the most sleep deprived I've had in my whole life. Like even when you lay down at 3 o'clock in the morning, your mind is still ticking. Like, okay, I'll just get back up and work on something else. So I'm supposed to be getting there for that. And I said that because that would be an alternative for me going to Charlotte. But just letting you know, I had already put that out. So Dennis, I may have to meet you in South Dakota or somewhere, and we may have to do this thing virtually, but I'm sure you understand, brother. So if you're watching the replay, I'm sure you'll text me later. But yeah, I really hope that Carolina can pull this off in Charlotte. We're home, and it's time to pluck some feathers. You know, last year we got a over them. One of our wins last year was against Atlanta. We only had 2 wins. One I say was probably donated to us by CJ Stroud and the Texans because they knew it was a game that wouldn't count, and CJ and my friends. But what really happened with Atlanta? So I can't really. We will see. And thank you, Jay Train. I will keep my head up, and we're coming for you next for Retribution. Now tomorrow night we got Thursday night football. 49ers, no Christian McCaffrey, out indefinitely. Definitely dropped from the fantasy rankings at this point versus Geno Smith and the Seahawks, who look good. I always call him Newport Geno because he looks like he smokes Newports. I mean, I've always called him that, but they really were smoking. I mean, they stood at least 9 toes down on Detroit the other day. They ain't staying 10 toes because, you know, Detroit had that work for them, but they really look very formidable. So tomorrow night's prediction, what would you think about that game? You think, 49ers
Both. That's gonna be a good game. I'll be tuning in because both teams need a win right now. You know, they started off 2-0,
yes.
and lost to Detroit, got smacked by my big boy Giants, and San Fran just lost another game. Both teams need a win. Is that game in Seattle or in San Francisco?
Let's see. I just looked.
Is that Levi?
I think it because right when you started talking to me about the Panthers, I was like, wait a minute, how could I miss talking about the preview coming up? I guess because Friday night my show will be talking about all that. Who do I have on Friday night? Friday with the fellas. So Fern, feel free to jump on. I'll still send you the link if you want to come on in and help me negotiate the drama with the NFC South.
I'll be watching.
Yes. So Seahawks are going. Oh, guess what? They just placed their offensive linebacker Nivoris on IR. Oh, before we go, we have to talk about the New York Jets. They marched up Robert up out of there. They said they had to get security to get his butt up out of there, Fern.
That's a tough situation, man. Salah was always a very passionate head coach. I don't think he had a fair shot. You bring Aaron Rodgers in there. I don't know, babe. I'll be honest with you.
He's the one got
fired
in Green Bay.
He leaves destruction, and everywhere he goes, he leaves a path of destruction. It's interesting that Salah, is gone, had to initially be walked out. A lot of teams, and at one point, Aaron Rodgers is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. I just don't know if I would allow him to come in and really make an effect on my organization. Leave it in destruction, leave a path of destruction behind him, and then move on. I don't know about that, but they have their reasoning. We'll see how it goes. I think the Jets season is going to be a very disappointing season. But there's a chance they could prove me wrong, and Aaron Rodgers could run the table, and win some games and make it to the playoffs. It's going to be tough because I just don't see them doing that. But we'll see. But that was kind of tough for me to see with Robert Salah.
Yeah. I mean, so early in the season too.
Yeah.
Like, and Aaron Rodgers had already said, we're not hugging, we're not friends. Like, dude, really? So you tank that.
He leaves a path of destruction everywhere he goes.
Does, but you're not even participating at the beginning of the season. As we wrap up, because we are at the top of the hour, Fern, it's been amazing. Can you give me your pick for tomorrow night's game? I could not solidify Seahawks and 49ers.
I'm taking the Niners.
All right. Yeah, I think the Niners trying to get it done. They're trying to get some wins going. So I hope, even though Christian's not playing, I kind of root for them a little bit anyway. Fern,
yeah, I'm taking the Niners.
Always a great time with you, brother. Please make sure
Always.
you come back. And everybody, we're going to recast this at 2 a.m. on the Roku channel, Northeast Streaming Professional Sports, Huddle Sports Network. This will air tomorrow afternoon. Thank you guys so much. I'll be back on live Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Fern and I wish you a good night and good luck to your team, except if you are playing against my